All right, thanks for being with us on this Tuesday morning. We are live to the KGNS app. We're live to the website at kgns.tv. We are also live to our Facebook page and our YouTube channel on this Tuesday morning. Thank you so much for being with us. We've got All's in This Together is tomorrow morning with Mindy Caso and Jerry Garza. So make sure you tune in tomorrow at this hour for All's in This Together, leading up to the Walk to End Alzheimer's in November. They've been doing that for the last 2 years now in anticipation of the walk. And it's really about awareness in regard to Alzheimer's and how it affects you and your family members, especially here in the Gateway City. So and then we do have some other individual interviews scheduled for Thursday and Friday. Right now, we're going to talk about something that has been in our newscast lately, and it has to do with a busing situation over at one of the middle schools for United Independent School District. Here to talk about it with us is the Executive Director of Transportation for UISD. He is Mr. Joe Aranda. Mr. Aranda, how are you? Welcome to the Digital News Desk. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Now, you've been making the rounds. We had you on Beyond the Headlines. You were on the KGNS News Today this morning, and you're here also to talk about a particular situation, but we're going to talk about something else as well, and we'll talk about your need for bus drivers. But let me start with the situation over at Elias Herrera Middle School. I know that you and the district have made an effort to go out and inform the public as to what's been going on over there. So what started this whole situation?
It's a situation, obviously, that requires, our full attention, and that's what we're doing by letting the information out, getting the information out to the public. It's a situation where we have an area that encompasses north for Elias Herrera, for the Elias Herrera campus, but it's north of Shiloh, and it's east of McPherson, all the way to the Loop, that has now been completely fully developed in terms of infrastructure, pedestrian infrastructure that is in place. And going back to 2018, we were looking at the possibility of obviously removing or phasing out some of the buses in that area. However, because of issues in the area where there were no sidewalks and crossways, there was a lot of construction that was going on at the North Central Park. It was under development. There was some drainage issues. There was a lot of heavy machinery in the area. And so we realized that it was difficult for students to be able to make that walk or to be able to get themselves to campus as they could in any other school zone. And so as a result of that, we continued to provide the bus services, even though it was within a 2-mile walking distance. However, because of the infrastructure that was not complete and the problems that were in the area, we decided to just proceed into the service. And around school year 2019-2020, we realized that things are now coming into fruition as far as the area, and that this was a possibility, obviously, now to be able to do to get themselves to school, to get kiddos to Elias Herrera. And so we are monitoring in the fall of 2019 what is happening in the neighborhoods. And you're talking about 5 or 6 neighborhoods in that whole area. And so we're planning sometime in the spring of 2020 to start informing the public and the parents that we were going to start phasing out the school buses in that area. And then, of course, as we all know, the whole country came into a complete shock stop, where we had COVID. And so while we were debating phasing out these buses, it didn't make sense on the ground, because we wanted kids to come to school. We wanted to be able to provide the transportation. The buses were running half empty, some of them even more than half empty. A lot of the kids were going virtual, and so we ended up using the buses to allow for Wi-Fi transmissions. And we're parking them in neighborhoods so people could get a better signal. And so the buses were still there. They were very visible, and folks could see that the buses were there. Following that COVID, we continue with the following year, and slowly kids are coming back, but we still see that the ridership is very low in 2021, 2022, and it didn't make any sense to remove the buses because we were trying to encourage kids to return to school. And so as a result of that, these extenuating circumstances kept the buses where they are now. But under no means, were we targeting or trying to, affect the kids and the parents in that area by abruptly removing service. So we go into this school year, and parents are notified in the summer. However, the notice, as per the parents' concerns, is that the notice went out very late July, and it didn't give parents enough time to be able to plan to be accordingly to take their kids to school. So central office, the administration, the superintendent's office, they went ahead and extended the bus service as we currently have. It hasn't been interrupted. It continues as it is for those 5 buses that are in that area, and it is running through September the 29th. The plan that we're advocating to parents and to the public is to reduce those 5 buses down to 3 buses. And there, in essence, will be shuttle buses. And there will be 2 buses that will be stationed at Malakoff Elementary and 1 at Borchers. And the plan is for parents to take the kids to those campuses, and from there, the transportation department will shuttle the kids to Elias Herrera. And we will continue that until the end of the semester, which is December the 19th. But the information in the letter has also informed them that beginning in January, which is the spring semester, by that point, all buses will be phased out completely.
Yeah. Joe Aranda is joining us this morning. He's the Executive Director of Transportation for United Independent School District. Mr. Aranda, so some parents protested. What was their main concern? Is it that they were not informed ahead of time? What were as far as what you heard in regard to the protests, what was their concern?
Yeah, my understanding, there was a variety of concerns that they had, different issues that they had, obviously. One of them has always been the fact that the timing, that we didn't do a very good job of getting that information out there. The other pressing issue that parents have conveyed to us and at the district is that it's very hot. The weather's very hot. The situation of walking is very difficult for the kids. The other concern that they brought up is that they feel that it's not a safe walk from wherever they live to the campus, and that there's not enough, security or patrol or officers in place. And the only thing I can say about that is that we've looked at all those issues, and as far as we can tell, everything seems to be in place. The sidewalks are there, like I mentioned before, and the crossways are in place. I know that central office is working with the constable's office in order to be able to get their assistance and their help. For example, I know Shiloh and International is a very complicated intersection because of the way it's designed by the city of Laredo. So central office is working with the constable office to help have law enforcement allow the kids to cross safely. And they do that, by the way, as you know. They do it on Del Mar, all along Del Mar. They do it in the major arterials of our district. And so we feel that the same level of safetiness that we have throughout the district will also be available to the parents and to the students for Elias Herrera. And so, there are many issues, and we're happy to be here, like on your show, to at least answer and explain how we have evaluated and analyzed the situation. I know I got an email or several emails from parents indicating that, how do we expect the kids to walk, because there are registered sex offenders that live in the area. And the number that I've received in terms of emails is that there's like up to 10 sex offenders in the area. The Department of Transportation, we get our data from the Department of Public Safety, from DPS, from their database, and we have access to that. And that identifies where these sex offenders live. There are only 3 that are actually registered through the Department of Public Safety. Any bus route or any route that the district recommends is going to be at least 300 feet from that house in every direction. And that's what we do district-wide. And by the way, unfortunately, this Elias Herrera boundary is not the only one that has sex offenders. There are sex offenders, unfortunately, throughout our community, everywhere. And so our plan and our design of routes is to develop those circumventing these residences, these homes.
Now, Elias Herrera Middle School is located on McPherson Road, between Shiloh and what would be the next, I guess, Del Mar.
Yeah.
If you want to go further, that used to be the old United High School.
That's correct.
For those who don't have an idea what we're talking about, it is a very busy area. Is there a concern from them having to walk across the street as well to the school, as well as from Shiloh, or are they not that concerned about that intersection there?
There at that immediate location, there's already the security and UISD police presence.
So if they have to walk across, there
yes,
would be
there's somebody there. I know that because our buses get help.
Yeah.
Obviously, in order to be able to enter the campus. So I think more it has to do with the actual traveling from wherever they live all the way down to the campus and how they navigate. And that seems to be the concern that we've been hearing.
Talk to me about the 2 mile rule, Mr. Aranda. How is that set? Who sets that, and so forth?
Yeah.
What is it also? Explain.
Yeah. It's a TEA guideline, and essentially it tells districts throughout the state of Texas that if you are interested in getting a reimbursement, some reimbursement, not 100%, but a percentage of reimbursement from the state of Texas for your bus services, the eligibility that qualifies you has to be for kids that live 2 miles or beyond. Kids that live 2 miles within the 2 mile distance, we're not allowed to submit for reimbursement for that.
So that would come at the cost of the district?
100% at the cost of the only exceptions, there's 2 exceptions. One of them is special needs. If you have a special need child, and obviously they have a situation that they cannot get themselves to school, obviously we'll pick them up and bring them into campus. The other one is what's called a hazardous situation. For example, the best example I can think of is students that live, for example, west of I-35, and they go to Clark Middle and Clark Elementary, where Mal del Norte is.
Yeah.
You'd have to cross through I-35 underneath. So situations like that, we're allowed to go ahead and provide transportation within 2 miles because there is a hazard. And a hazard, as I have read it, is defined as a major arterial highway or cross bridge or anything that obviously you cannot stop the traffic. It's moving along and there's nothing you can do. And so as a result of that, we do have hazardous routes. I know the parents have brought this up, indicating that they believe, for example, again, Shiloh and International is hazardous, the fact that they're sex offenders and other criteria that they brought up. But when you look at what TEA will allow us and what falls under the definition, it does not meet the requirements for reimbursement. And so, by the way, I've been with the district for 25 years, and I've said it before, the district policy has been the same forever. In other words, even before I got here, if you live within 2 miles, you become an eligible walker, unless there is a condition that prevents you, like a highway or a major arterial that's held, uncontrollable traffic situation, or special needs kiddos. And so Elias Herrera, at this point in time, in 2023, does not fall under any of those conditions.
And so now could you potentially still submit this to the TEA? In other words, is the district in the position to say, well, let's give it a try. Let's see if they consider Shiloh dangerous to cross?
That would have to come through the Board of Trustees.
Okay.
And again, there also has to be justification. In other words, we would have to take into consideration what does the city traffic, plans show, what is the accident rate. There's a lot of factors that come into place. Like in other words, we would have to justify it to TA, because the agency can basically say, like it says, it's a guideline. If you want to provide service because you deem it dangerous, even though it doesn't fall under our definition, you're more than welcome to do it, but you get $0 because it doesn't meet the criteria, the requirements that they have. And the other thing that we're looking at, which is really, really important, is that there's also a threshold, Ruben, that you can only submit 10% of your total miles as hazardous. Anything above 10%, you basically have to absorb it. So because of the fact that UISD services kids throughout the entire boundary of Webb County, we have IH-35, we have Zapata Highway, we have 359, we have 59, we have all these major highways. We've submitted for hazardous conditions for all these kids that have to cross from different subdivisions to get to the campuses. We've already surpassed the 10% that we're allowed. So in this case, it would have probably end up being 100% that would be absorbed by the district. And I, as a transportation director into the department, I'm not in a position to recommend something like that to the board, because I would have to do it at other places, at other campuses. And this is the only campus, by the way, that is receiving full bus service inside the 2-mile radius. No other campus has this. And so it's difficult for me to make that recommendation. Again, at the end of the day, the central office, the superintendent's office, and the board of trustees can give us a directive to go ahead and continue the service, which is what they've done, by the way. That's why we're still doing it. But to go beyond December the 19th is definitely outside my purview.
So that would be up to the board, and in that case, so would that be the only recourse left for the parents, is for them to somehow convince the board to fund that 2-mile area?
That would be the only way, as I see it right now, because we cannot make that recommendation and put that financial burden on the district without any justification. And again, the central office, the superintendent's office, and the board certainly can listen to all the concerns that the parents have. Our job is just to be able to respond to the different concerns that the parents have, and to clarify, which is what we've been doing, clarifying. Somebody says, well, there's 10, 15, sexual offenders in the area. That's not really the case. We're really looking at 3. You have, areas that have unjustified speed limits. That's not the case. You have 30-mile-per-hour zones in the area. And so there's nothing that, at this point, that we can see that would allow us to make such a recommendation. And that's really where we're at. And it's not, I tell parents, because I talk to them all the time when they call me and they voice their concerns, it's not a debate that we're trying to have with them or anything. Essentially, if you as a parent put out information that this is the reason that you feel we should do something, our job is to look at it. Our job is to investigate it, and our job is to provide a response if there is one.
But there's a cap on hazardous transportation. In other words, you said 10%,
10%.
correct? So even if this did qualify as a hazardous situation under that cap, you may not still be able to cover it.
Correct.
Right?
It still becomes a full 100% cost to the district.
At that point, is it a like the most hazardous down? Is that how you would use the 10%? I guess.
No,
you would fund the top hazardous routes.
The ones that are already in the books, they're already taking up that 10%. Okay. And it's done by resolution, by the way. And that resolution, I believe, goes back to maybe 2010. It's been in the books for some time. We need to update it to make some corrections. And the reason for that is not because of any changes or any hazardous areas that are now coming into play or that don't exist anymore. It has to do with boundary changes. For example, I'll give you an example. The area called North Town, which is immediately north of, right behind the KGNS station, right behind HEB to the north. There's an area that consists of several mobile homes. It's a mobile home park. Those kiddos used to go to United Middle School, and we would transport them because they're inside the 2-mile radius, but it was difficult for them to be able to get to that area. And so they're in our hazardous plan to be able to be transported. However, a few years ago, there was a boundary change, and those kiddos now go to Trotman Middle. And they're right behind Trotman Middle, as you know. And so therefore now they're eligible walkers. So we need to go back and clean up the resolution, but it's only to fall into compliance with boundary changes that have occurred. And so that's what's pending.
And so this, am I understanding correctly that this would have been done sooner except for the fact that COVID hit and then just everything changed?
And then there was also construction that was going on. In 2018, 2017, 2018, there was a lot of construction going on in that area, especially around North Central Park. There was a drainage issue, a big-time drainage issue that the city was addressing. That area that was west of North Central Park, all that rain would just run west, and it would affect a lot of the neighborhood areas. So the city did that major Central Park, but they also did a huge drainage improvement project there. And so during that time, there was heavy machinery, a lot of equipment that was in the area. And so if you lived north of that area, there was no way you were going to get to Elias Herrera. I mean, it was very difficult because of all the construction that was going on in the area. And so there were all these extenuating circumstances that we saw that would not be feasible for students to be able to do it. And so we kept the buses in there. But today, you drive that area. I've been driving it frequently since parents have been bringing up concerns. On the weekends, we see tons of kiddos all over the place. On the sidewalks, going to Central Park in their bicycles, moving up and down the area. They're doing it safely. They're doing it safely. They're participating in events in their neighborhoods. They're not hampered in any way, and so therefore we don't see the difference between extracurricular activities and now obviously walking themselves to school.
I want to wrap this up so we can talk about the need for bus drivers as well in this conversation. But just to finalize, Mr. Aranda, by December, all the parents that have been relying on transportation from UISD for Elias Herrera Middle School, they've got to come up with a new plan. Is what it boils down to.
Yes, sir. Beginning the new spring semester. At this time, unless we're told otherwise,
right,
and we're giving another direction, yes, we are phasing them out December 19th, and the new spring semester will require the parents to provide full transportation of their kids.
Barring any intervention from the Board of Trustees.
Yes, sir. Or central office.
So that would be, again, the parents' recourse, those who still feel this is not the right way to go. They could still perhaps contact their board member or contact central office.
I think they're doing that,
Yeah.
and that's the political process, democratic process to do. What is interesting, I just want to say real quickly, is that there's two schools, Malakoff, which we're using for 2 buses, and Borchers. Those schools don't have any buses. Kids walk. These are the elementary kiddos. They're walking. They're walkers. They walk to that campus. We just see it, if the elementary kids can do the walk, the middle school kids, can obviously also do it. However, we understand, that it's a little bit further, but the fact of the matter remains that I think we have one bus at Malakoff that does bring kids that's outside of the loop, and we understand because you have to cross the loop. And at both schools, we have special needs, but that's required by state law. Mm-hmm. We have to do that.
And what are the areas like at those elementary schools? Are they as busy as where Elias Herrera Middle School is, or within neighborhoods?
I think they are. I think they're busy. I mean they have a lot of. Anytime that you have a campus, you're going to have a lot of movement coming into the school. But it's only during the time that kids are getting to school and the time that they're leaving, and you have a pulse in and a pulse out.
Okay, Joe Aranda is the Executive Director of Transportation for United Independent School District. Since before the school year began, Mr. Aranda, I can remember HR coming to the shows and having these hiring fairs, and one of the positions that was always available seemed to be bus drivers. Is there a shortage right now of bus drivers?
Yes, at the present time we have 55 vacancies for bus drivers.
55 vacancies?
55 vacancies for bus drivers. We are just part of the situation that is happening across America. We're not immune to the shortage of bus drivers. And I'm talking of not really bus drivers, I'm talking about CDL, commercial driver's license operators. In our case, bus drivers, because we need to operate a school bus. But we are no exception to the crisis that the country is facing. What we, as a district, as a department, would like to convey to people that may be interested in becoming bus drivers is that we will do everything we can to train you to be able to become a certified school bus driver. And by that I mean, if you have a CDL license, we are a commercial trucking industry town. And there's a lot of people with CDL licenses around driving in our streets. However, in order to drive a school bus, you must also have two other additional endorsements in your license. You must have the letter P for passengers, and you must have the letter S for school bus. And so those are additional chapters of testing that you need to get at DPS in order to get your full license to be a bus driver. What we do is if you go and get a medical certification, which is required by DPS before you can take the exams, you have to be physically fit, obviously, to drive a school bus. If you are interested in becoming a bus driver and you go through the expense of getting a physical, which will run you between $65 and $90, the district will reimburse you if we end up hiring you as a bus driver. We also have sample questions that are available. They're not the same questions that DPS has, but they're sample questions that we have available to be able to help people that are interested in staying home instead of drivers, male or female. They don't want to be over the road. They want to stay home. There's an opportunity to work here locally. So we do an outreach to be able to get you trained and to get you ready to come in and work for the district. One of the things that happens is when you go to the DPS office and you say, well, I want to get my school bus endorsement. They're going to ask you, well, who's going to lend you the school bus? Because you need a school bus to take the driving part. There's where a person can say, I'm going to apply at United ISD, and all they need is my permit so that they can have confirmation that, in fact, I am interested and I'm serious becoming a bus driver. And what we do is once you have your permit, you've already passed the written, but you still have to do the driving in the school bus. There's where we come in. We'll help you. We'll get you the bus. We'll hire you. The district will hire you as a bus driver trainee, and our trainers will train you for 2 or 3 weeks, whatever it takes, depending on how much you need, to get you ready to go and take the exam with DPS. And what we do is we program, we set up the appointment, we take the bus to DPS, and then, of course, the person goes and takes the exam with the DPS officer. It is something that not a lot of people offer in the community. I mean, the district is prepared to do all that in order to entice individuals that want to stay in the community, wants to stay at home instead of being over the road. And then once you come in and you become an employee and you are a bus driver, we also allow you to bring your kids to work. And if your kids go to a particular campus at UISD, you're allowed to talk to the driver that covers that particular school. And that driver, we give them permission to take your son or your daughter in that bus so that you your job and your son or your daughter can get to school on time.
So with the incentives then, Mr. Aranda, why the shortage? Why is there 55 vacancies?
I think one of the biggest issues, obviously, is we can't compete in terms of the pay. The private sector will run maybe 17 to up to maybe 20, 22, $23 an hour. We're not in that position to offer that kind of pay. However, I think that the district benefits are things that need to be seriously considered by people who may be interested in coming to work for the school district. We have one of the lowest health insurance programs in the community. Once you become a bus driver, we become part of the teacher retirement system. We're not teachers, but we get the same benefits that a teacher does. And so that there's I think $25,000 free life insurance that's available. And so when you add all those different benefits, I think we become competitive. However, at the end of the day, if you're looking to get more money, obviously you're going to take that position that pays more. But it doesn't mean that we're not here, and it doesn't mean that there's no employment opportunities literally right down the street from where you may live.
How much does this shortage affect situations like you have at Elias Herrera Middle School? Do they coincide, or are they two different things?
I think some of the parents have brought that up. That's a very good question, very interesting question. That's not the case. What is actually happening, to be very honest with you, our dispatchers, our supervisors, our route specialists, our office clerks, all that personnel is literally driving. Our mechanics are driving buses because they're certified in order to be able to transport the kids. Those that do not have a CDL license, we place them in Suburbans, and they provide. So we have a bunch of Suburbans, and we're like, for example, kids that live in the outskirts of a route that's really, really far out. We'd rather send a Suburban, pick up 4 or 5 kids that are at the end of the route, and bring them back into town, and then meet up with a school bus. It's not cost effective to send the bus all the way to the end of the route. And as you know, we cover the boundary of Webb County from one end to the other. And so we have long routes. Like going north, we go all the way to Encinal. And so there's a boundary in Encinal. There's a particular street, a boulevard, that I think it's the Pilot that's out there. If you live north of that Pilot station, you go to Cotula. If you live south, you come to UISD. So we go all the way to the boundary. Wherever the kids are, we bring them in. Those vehicles are normally Suburbans, and we send our office people, our personnel that answers telephones, because they can do that. They can actually go out and and bring the kids in. And so we find a way to cover those vacancies. Now, we would love to have those people back doing what they need to do and have the drivers do the actual routes. But as things are, we have to find a way to get it done, and nobody stays without service. And so therefore, this Elias Herrera area has nothing to do with a shortage of drivers. It's just a situation that they're now in compliance like all other campuses, and that's why we're seeking for them to do the same.
Has the board considered higher pay for the bus drivers?
They actually did, and as a matter of fact, September 1, it went up to $13 an hour. It used to be $11.65. Okay. Now, $13 an hour, Ruben, is starting pay. If you come in and you tell the Human Resources Department, I've been driving for 12 years or 10 years, and here's my proof, they'll take that into consideration. There's a lot of people that work with over-the-road huge like Greyhound buses or what they call charter buses. If somebody is interested in coming in and working with the district and not doing that work, going to Dallas or going to Atlanta or Florida, wherever they may be going, the district will take into consideration their years of experience, because they're actually driving a huge charter bus. And so I know of 2 or 3 drivers that have come over to work with us from charters, and they don't start at $13 an hour. Okay. They'll start at 17 or 19, depending on the years of service. And of course, you have to have proof that you have those years of service. I can't come into HR and tell the HR people, I've been driving for 20 years. Can you plug that into the formula? I have to prove that I've driven and I have that experience. But the fact of the matter remains is that you'll be rewarded, for that service.
Yeah. How can someone apply, Mr. Aranda, if they're interested?
You go to human resources, you can do two things. You can either go to the website and go through the process of doing it online. However, I am very happy to say that the Human Resources Department has their office. And if you're not, computer savvy or you have trouble with, online applications, you're more than welcome to go there. And they have, I've seen as many as 10, 15 computers that are there. And there's people that will help you go ahead and put your application in case there's any problems. Or you can start it online, and if you feel like you can't complete it because you run into an obstacle, you can go to HR and they can help you get in and navigate through to the end of the application.
Sounds good. Mr. Aranda, anything else you want to mention before I let you go?
No, I really appreciate the invite. And again, like I said, we'll continue to discuss, obviously, the Elias Herrera area to hopefully get the word out to the public that it is a safe way to get to campus, and that is no exception with regards to when you compare it to other schools, and we'll be happy to be available for any questions and answers.
Sounds good. Joe Aranda is the Executive Director of Transportation for UISD. Mr. Aranda, God bless you. Thanks for what you do.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, I got to go. We got to work on the noon show. I'll see you at 12 o'clock on KGNS. Thanks for watching. Remember, all's in this together tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning right here on the Digital News Desk. Have a blessed rest of your day.